Chapter 9, Saturday, July 15, 1750 hours. The news from the weatherfax was all bad. A tropical storm near the equator had suddenly turned their way. It was set to collide with a large mass of cooler air dipping down from the north. Will was making deals even before the captain explained their situation. If the storm misses us, I'll keep my room so clean you can eat off the floor.
So I'm afraid we've got a bit of a rough ride ahead of us tonight,
the captain told them grimly. You mean last time wasn't a rough ride? Carla said in dismay.
My dear, the captain replied evenly, last time was a lap around the duck pond compared with what the next few hours might bring us. But the Phoenix is a fine ship. We'll make it through if we keep our heads.
The first order of business was to take down the sails. I can't believe they're making us do this by hand, complained JJ as he and Luke hauled the main halyard. There's a storm coming, and we're doing work when we don't have to. Hey, Luke said sharply, this is no time to get on the captain's nerves. But it's such a snow job! He belted out the last two words so they would reach the mate on the ratlines. Radford glared down at them. They heard the engine come to life. The Phoenix would face this gale under power. The weather roared up quickly. At dusk, the rain started pelting down on them. The wind came with the dark, a blustery blow that had the crew hanging onto bulwarks and rigging as they made their way around the deck. Mr. Radford handed out life jackets and safety harnesses.
Always keep your belt locked onto something that's attached to the boat, he ordered sternly. When you move from place to place, hang on with two hands. Don't be embarrassed to crawl. Got it?
The waves grew, slowly but steadily. At first, they weren't any bigger than the seas that had turned the Phoenix into a roller coaster ride a day before. But Luke could see they were more dangerous. Yesterday the swells had been like mountains, forcing the schooner to climb and descend from peak to peak. These were more like a series of oncoming cliffs, vertical walls of water. A ship can't climb a cliff. Instead, wave after wave broke over the bow, sending a constant knee-deep flood surging across the deck. Ian's feet were swept out from under him, and down he went. Luke caught him and yanked him upright. Luke wasn't sure whether or not to be alarmed. The storm was howling worse every minute, but the captain and mate were working calmly and efficiently in the battering wind and rain. This is bad, right? He shouted to Mr. Radford. Shouldn't we go below?
Don't panic, Archie, ordered the mate. Let's batten everything down first.
No, JJ protested. We don't have to get blown around like this. Radford shot him a fierce look.
You gonna ask your famous daddy to pay off the storm and make it go away?
We can outrun it, JJ argued. We've got more wind than we know what to do with. Just put up the sails and fly. Radford shook his head in disgust and rushed away. JJ threw up his arms. What did I say? He got a faceful of spray for his answer. Great patches of foam blew in dense streaks. At one point, Luke looked over the gunwale and saw nothing but white water, not a speck of blue or green. Every minute or so, the Phoenix was lifted bodily and then flung contemptuously aside by a 30-foot wave. The deck lurched violently. Unlike yesterday's up and down, the tumbling of the sea was heavy and shock-like. Even athletic Carla couldn't keep her balance. She sat down on the cabin top and tried to slide along on her bottom. Will crawled across the deck on all fours, unable to trust his own feet. A rush of seawater washed over him, leaving him flopping and sputtering. Lissa was clamped onto the ratlines, her face green. I'm gonna lose it, she warned. That's typical, howled her brother, spitting salt water. All day long you're Sinbad the sailor, and now you can't hang on to your lunch. Radford turned to the cockpit.
We're secure, Skipper.
Harnessed to the wheel stand, Captain Cascaden was barely visible through the rain, foam, and spray. Out of the chaos came his orders.
All hands below.
You don't have to ask me twice, exclaimed Will, sprint crawling for the companionway to the main cabin. Lissa was hot on his heels, followed by Carla, high-stepping to keep her balance. Next came Luke, dragging Ian by the arm. At the last second, a huge wave broke over the bow, jolting the stern upward and pitching the two boys down the companionway. Radford hooted with laughter. You guys should join the circus, the Flying Archie Brothers. His brow clouded as he did a head count. Where's Richie Rich? Luke froze at as JJ's words came back to him. Just put the sails up and fly. That maniac, he muttered, clambering up the companionway again. Hey, barked the mate. Get back here, Archie. At that moment, JJ was clamped around the wrapped mainsail, hanging on with one hand and untying lines with the other. When the furled sail was free, he stood up. Instantly, he was thrown to the deck. His father had once gotten him a bit part in a movie, an earthquake scene. There had been 30 special effect guys underneath them, pitching the floor every which way. It was nothing compared with the Phoenix right now. They had to get out of here. They could beat this storm, no matter what Radford said. All they needed was some sail. Crouching low, he dashed astern through the rain and spray, steadying himself with an arm on the cabin top. He peered around the corner and set his eyes on the instrument panel behind the wheel. 6, maybe 7 feet away. He'd be seen, but by then it would be too late, if he could keep from falling flat on his face. Counting silently, 1, 2, 3, he launched himself past the captain and reached for the mechanism that raised the mainsail. Luke hit him at hip height, diving like a linebacker. The two of them fell hard to the slick deck. What the? The captain spun around to face them. What are you doing here, crewmen? Get yourselves below. You lunatic! Luke rasped at JJ. You'll get us all killed. I know what I'm doing. JJ insisted frantically. He lunged for the panel, but Luke grabbed him once more. Archie! Radford struggled onto the scene. The beam of his flashlight captured Luke, and JJ locked in a wrestling match. Break it up, ordered Cascadin. He unhooked his safety harness and stepped between the two combatants, separating them with a heave of his powerful arms. The schooner lurched suddenly, and JJ was tossed off his feet. The deck wash had him, was about to sweep him away. In a single motion, Captain Cascadin clamped his right hand onto JJ's wrist and reached back with the left, groping for something, anything to hold on to. His fingers closed on the side of the instrument panel and gripped hard, his palm pressed against a small button. The roar of the waves covered the mechanical clunk as the mainsail began to rise automatically. Radford ran over, and he and the captain set JJ back on his feet. Captain! Luke spotted the white canvas flapping wildly as it rose from its boom. The sail! Captain and mate turned just as the 50-knot wind filled the half-open mainsail with an overpowering force. It was as if the whole world suddenly tilted 90 degrees. The 60-foot boat was blown all the way over on its side, its mast barely out of the water. Radford grabbed the main sheet, which now extended over his head like monkey bars. The captain hung on to JJ and the instrument panel. The next thing Luke knew, he was moving, falling parallel to the deck. Only the gunwale, 18 inches of wood, stood between him and a violent ocean. Wham! He bounced off like a ping-pong ball, snatching wildly for the lifeline. He felt the wire in his hands and held on, his feet dragging in the water. Archie! Radford called. Lock your harness on the lifeline! I can't! He tried to answer, but a torrent of sea and spray found his throat. He came up choking. Waves crashed over the twin masts. The automatic halyard winch ground to a halt. The captain secured JJ's safety belt around the wheel stand. Then he hit the button to lower the mainsail. Nothing happened. No power to the winch, howled Radford. I'll have to lower it manually. Like Tarzan moving from vine to vine, the mate grabbed the halyard and swung over. He hung there, trying to use his full weight to pull the sail down. Too much blow, skipper, he called. I can't budge it. Take the helm, crewman, the captain ordered JJ. He heaved himself up the side of the cabin top to make his way over to the mate. Clinging to the wire at the starboard gunwale, Luke was the first to see the great wave. It was enormous, a 40-footer curling over the high side of the Phoenix like a giant hand about to crush the small ship. He shouted, "Captain!" And then the monster broke. To Luke, it seemed like Niagara Falls raging down the upturned deck toward him. Crack! The mainmast snapped like a toothpick under the weight of the thundering sea. An avalanche of rope and canvas pelted down. As if in slow motion, the broken peak of the mast toppled over, striking Captain Cascaden across the shoulders. Fierce lightning backlit a terrifying scene. Luke watched in horror as the captain was pitched from the deck into the foaming ocean. "Man overboard!" he tried to shout, but the force of the wave drove the gunwale of the Phoenix and Luke with it, deep beneath the rampaging sea.